Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining the Stetson Alumni Office as we host our series of virtual meet and greets to introduce Dr. Rolke to our Hatter alumni and parents. I'm Rebecca Thomas, Director of Alumni and Parent Engagement, and it's my pleasure to be here with you and the rest of the panelists this evening. As we wait for all our guests to connect in, we'd love to get to know those of you who've joined us this evening. So we have a couple polls and questions to jump into. So Julie, do you mind popping up our first poll? So we'd love to know which college or school did you graduate from this evening? So if you don't mind taking a second to select College of Law, the College of Arts and Sciences, or School of Business, or School of Music. And we'll give you guys about a minute or so to go ahead and let us know. We're excited to see everyone who's joining us this evening. Again, if you're just joining us now, we're doing a quick poll and oh, it just popped down. So Julie, do you mind sharing our results so we can see who's joined us this evening? Oh, great. So we have a good turnout. A lot of College in Arts and Sciences, School of Business, Music, and Law. So we're well represented tonight. Great. We're excited to have everyone here with us. Next one, a quick question as we wait for everyone to get joined in this evening. If you can locate your question box, which should be on your lower right-hand area of your screen, give a shout out to your graduating class year in this question box on your control panel. And I'd love to see those class years and where you're joining from if you want to do that now. This is also the question box you can leverage this evening for any comments or questions you may have throughout the night or at the end when we do a question and answer panel with Dr. Rolke. Oh, great. So we have got a variety here. A few 2020 grads, class of 79, class of 80. Oh, great, Derek. It's so nice to see you from class of 2011. Happy you're here tonight. Okay, class of 59, 90, 04. Oh, you have a shout out to the class of 1977 from Barb in Fairfax, Virginia. We're glad you're here with us, Barb. Okay, some recent grads, 16 and 17, and then class of 1976. Great, well, thank you for sharing that information. We're glad all of you are here with us this evening. We're excited to continue doing some alumni events, even though we're virtual. So just a reminder, that question box that you just leveraged to give a shout out to your class year is the same question box you'll use for the evening when we get to the Q&A at the end. Okay, so on that note, I'd like to take a minute to introduce our panelists for the evening. So we're going to have Dean Michelle Alexandre from Stetson University's College of Law. We have Rennell Mason Tinsley, class of 2000 and current Alumni Board President. Tara Hamilton, Executive Director of University Development Initiatives. And of course, please join me in giving a warm Hatter welcome to Dr. Christopher F. Rolke, PhD, who became Stetson's 10th president on July 1st, 2020.
Good evening, Hatters. It's very nice to be with you virtually here tonight. I want to thank you for joining us. I had the opportunity to meet many of you during a DC reception, and I'm delighted to be here tonight. And thank you for taking time out of your schedule to continue this warm welcome I've received from the Hatter community. I arrived in DeLand on June 15th, at which time New York was the epicenter of this global pandemic. I quarantined for a couple of weeks, and I began on July 1st officially as Stetson's 10th president. And I'll repeat something I've said in many public settings, which is this is the greatest honor and privilege of my professional life to be selected as your next president. I realize fully that I had big shoes to fill from President Emerita Wendy Libby. You might be interested to know that she moved not far from where I am currently living on the president's house on Woodland Boulevard. She's about 6 miles away. We get together once a month to chat, and she's still very much committed to our community. And I'm very grateful that she remains a resource for our community. So again, I'm thrilled to be here at Stetson. I will have further remarks in a few moments, but I mostly wanted to say thank you. And I also hope that this virtual meeting finds you and your family and your loved ones staying well during this, what I've been describing as a once in a century set of challenges for our country. So again, I look forward to speaking with you in a few moments, but it's my pleasure now to have you hear from Dean Michelle Alexandre, Dean of the College of Law, who's been just a superb colleague to me and to the entire Stetson community while I make this transition. Michelle?
Thank you, Dr. Wilkie. And I want to thank you personally for just a tremendous partnership and your hard work through the pandemic. Our partnership and collaboration together has really, and President Wilkie's stewardship of the university well before he joined, that's all been quite a blessing for us. Welcome, DC College of Law alum. It wasn't so long ago that we were together with President Wilkie, and boy, do I miss seeing you, and I can't wait till the next time we'll be together in person. I just want to update you very briefly on a few things happening at the College of Law, some of which you'll keep hearing about from us. First, we have a number of new faculty members. Professor Roy Balesti is our head of library. Professor Elizabeth Bowles, the new director of advocacy, and one of our faculty member, and Professor Alicia Jackson is one of our faculty members, but also heads our coveted and prized bar prep office. And we created this year a new business law concentration. We're very excited about that because, you know, at the College of Law, we prize ourselves in comprehensive practice readiness. So this concentration will allow our students to further compete in business law markets, securities, regulation, IP law, etc., and many more, cybersecurity. We're very excited. Of course, you know that we are back in full swing. I like to say that we are now approaching half of our semester. Can you believe it? So we started on August 8th, and we offer in-person, remote, and hybrid courses. It is just so wonderful to have the students back in our community, across campuses. Our community has been working so hard. So please give them virtual hugs when you get into contact with them. They are just amazing. And lastly, I know you received a letter signed by me, Ria Law, and Lila Jaber, our wonderful alumni leader, urging you to really look out for our 2020 graduates as they wait to take the delayed bar exam to participate in Florida Supreme Court's new temporary supervised practice as their supervisor, to give them a chance at a path to employment as soon as possible. We are available in our career services office, stand ready to help secure a good match between you and our graduate. And if you want to hear anything more about it, just don't hesitate to email me or anyone at the College of Law. And we will be relaunching the second phase of our Student Emergency Fund. Stay tuned for further detail to help those dear law graduates. You know how special they are because, you know, Stetson College of Law really get them ready to hit the ground running from day one. I enjoyed you, and I look forward to seeing you soon. I will turn to Rebecca, Rebecca Thomas. And Becca, do you want to take it?
Great. Thank you, Dean Alexandre. So our office hoped to have the opportunity to meet and interact with all of you in person this fall, but alas, COVID. So with our safe social distancing parameters in place, I did want to bring to your attention that if you haven't already heard, our office has launched a series of alumni digital events and programs to hopefully keep our Hatter alumni engaged and connected with one another. We know right now it can be challenging to feel like you have a community, and so we do want to make sure that your Hatter community in our office is an open door for you. So these initiatives can give you ways to access resources, to learn and discover, ways to connect and engage with one another, and then also opportunities for you to help our current students. I know a lot of you are very passionate about that. So just know our office is here to support you. We're an open door, at this time an open virtual door, but just remember you're among Stetson's Hatter Network, which is 42,000 alumni strong. And I'm just going to take a moment to share a few of those programs we have going on to see, if you'd like to get involved. So we've got a little slide up so you can follow along with some of this because it's going to be a lot of information, but some upcoming programs. So we have virtual homecoming that's November 6th through 8th. So we did decide to keep homecoming this year. It will be all virtual. Some activities and events will include a dean's panel, academic, multicultural, athletic, and social virtual workshops. Of course, time to reminisce with old friends. If your class year ends in a 0 or a 5, we'll be celebrating your class reunion. So don't forget to tune in for that. Some info will be going out soon. So if you're interested in volunteering and leading a reunion, we'll have that. And we will be kicking off the weekend with a nostalgic kickoff concert on Thursday, November 5th to launch the weekend of events. So more information from our office will be coming soon with these event schedules, registration information, and all of that. Great. So our next bit is regional events. So similar to what we have going now, but these are in addition to our general virtual events such as Facebook Live concerts that some of you maybe attended. But our office is continuing to host these across the country with our alumni board members. These events can give you the opportunity to participate with students in some speed networking, or our recent graduates who are maybe looking for jobs or maybe they've relocated and they're trying to connect with alumni in their area. So this really helps us connect the Hatter Network for some of our younger alumni. We've been doing some trivia nights and some other academic-based events. So we'd love for you to join in on those. We do promote these every Sunday on our social accounts, so make sure to give us a follow. We're going to drop that information in the chat box so you can follow us on our alumni Instagram and Facebook so you don't miss out on any of that. Now, for those of you, if you're looking for an opportunity to give back directly to students in the event capacity, then Webinar Wednesdays is for you. So this program's geared towards our students and recent graduate classes from 0 to 5 years out, as these populations begin to navigate adulthood and the workplace environment, whether it's through an internship or their first job. So if you have interest in hosting a workshop for students that's maybe industry specific, career, lifestyle, or academic topic that you feel well versed in, that you'd love to give back and help our students, then this is the event for you. Some examples alumni have done in the past are presenting on having a side hustle or freelancing, maybe life as a digital nomad, and we have one tomorrow on self-security and entrepreneurship. So a lot of fun opportunities there. Another program a lot of folks find interesting is Leadership Stetson. So this event generally happens at the end of January every year. We're not sure if this will be an in-person or virtual or how that's going to look just based on the environment, but this program is designed to increase the number of Stetson alumni and parents who are actively engaged with our university. It allows us to develop the next generation of Stetson leadership in our alumni. So If you join in for this, you'll have a chance to learn more about Stetson and hear directly from the deans and other university administrators. It gives you a chance to participate in discussion, get reconnected with Stetson, and network with fellow alumni who also sign up for this program. So we'd love to have you all join us for that. And our last program I'd like to highlight is our alumni board. So maybe Leadership Stetson's not quite enough for you, or maybe you come to that and you're like, wow, I just love Stetson. I'm so glad I've got reconnected. And you know what? I've got the time and capacity to take it a step further. So I'd love to get involved. Then the alumni board may be for you. So our alumni board is comprised of members representing various classes, majors, backgrounds, professions, and geographic locations. So don't think you have to be in the DeLand area to join our board. Their mission is focused to promote and develop enduring relationships between alumni and the university, while also fostering loyalty and philanthropic support. So you'll actually have a chance to hear from our current alumni board president, Rennell Tinsley Mason, later this evening. So she'll share a little bit more on that. So at this time, I'd like to take a second and toss another poll on the screen to just collect some alumni feedback and interests. So if you could take a minute to let us know which programs sound the most interesting to you, or that you hope you'll be able to get involved in the near future. So you can select virtual homecoming, regional and virtual events, webinar Wednesdays, the student focused one, Leadership Stetson, or our alumni board. We'd love to get some feedback tonight and follow up with you all. We'll give you just a minute or so here. Great, thank you all for filling out our poll and providing your feedback. One last thing before I turn it over. We've also launched a redesigned website. So if you've been following on our social accounts, we're doing a website scavenger hunt this week to hopefully get you guys a little bit more comfortable with the website and where you can locate things. So feel free to jump on and navigate around to learn more and stay connected with our office. We're going to go ahead and drop the URL in our chat box, and so you can navigate our new website. And on that, I'm going to turn this over to our alumni board president, Rennell Tinsley Mason, class of 2000.
Thank you, Rebecca. Appreciate that. Welcome, everybody. We're so glad you could join us on this special occasion. Again, I'm Rennell Tinsley Mason, president of the Stetson Alumni Board. I'm a graduate of Stetson of the class of 2000. So yes, it's my 20-year reunion. I have a degree in marketing management. While at Stetson, I was actively involved in the dance team, Synchronicity, Student Alumni Association, and worked in the president's office under Doug Lee as a student assistant. I'm currently the senior corporate compliance paralegal for Masonite International Corporation in Tampa, Florida. Serving as the president of Stetson University Alumni Board has been an honor, and I'm continuously humbled at the dedication of the many volunteers who spend an incredible amount of time lending their treasures and their talents towards helping to make Stetson a better place each and every day. Becoming president of the Alumni Board is truly one of the highlights of my life, and I'm honored and able to serve such a great capacity of the alumni. This year, the Alumni Office and the board have been diligently working on revamping our board bylaws to guide us in a direction to help the university further its mission. Through this, we've refocused the work of the Alumni Board to drive tangible outcomes of the Office of Alumni and Development to align with the university's priorities. One such thing is also looking at the new website and what they have to offer. In addition to creating clear direction through new bylaws, we've provided more structure through member selection and identifying responsibilities. The board committees have also redefined to drive focus areas such as fundraising, engagement, and serving a diverse body of alumni. With that, we've also added a multicultural committee and chair. In partnership with the Alumni Office, the board members work to promote and develop enduring relationships between alumni and the university while fostering loyalty and philanthropic support. Our members host regional events across the country to develop a sense of community and foster a pride for our alma mater that further enhances the university's reputation. We hope that with each event, we engage the alumni to nurture a spirit of service, loyalty, and engagement to Stetson and providing philanthropic support. As advocates for the university, we also work to recognize and celebrate the accomplishments and achievements of our alumni. Maybe you're content with your level of engagement to the university, but if you're not and you're looking for more opportunity to get involved, now's your chance. Feel free to reach out to the Alumni Office or myself and get connected. I appreciate your time this evening, and go Hatters. I'll now turn the microphone over to Tara Hamilton, the Executive Director of University Development Initiatives.
Thank you, Renelle. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm excited to be here with you as you experience firsthand the dynamic leadership of President Roelke. I'm also excited to briefly share with you some good news as it relates to our recent fundraising success. So this time last year, we were getting ready to celebrate the close of our 7-year Beyond Success to Significance campaign. We raised over $218 million, and this vastly exceeded our $200 million goal. It was really something to celebrate. I'm going to mention some of the highlights which our generous donors helped us to accomplish. We received the single largest gift in Stetson history, $18 million for our new CC and Hyatt Brown Hall for Health and Innovation. These are a couple of the renderings of the new building that will sit adjacent to Sage Hall. We endowed the Edmonds Scholarship Program, which is our prestigious full-ride academic scholarship. More students were able to benefit from international study programs, and we dedicated the David and Leanne Rinker Center for International Learning. Student research, writing, and academic success were enhanced through the Hollis Family Student Success Center. This is located on the 2nd floor of the library. We also renovated the School of Music's Tinsley Room, which is inside Presser Hall. We endowed the Templeton Business Ethics Competition and created the Centurion Sales Excellence Program, both within the School of Business Administration. The Veterans Law Institute was created, as were more externship experiences for our law students. Donors endowed our joint College of Law and undergraduate civil rights travel course. This is where students get to meet and actually walk in the footsteps of the Freedom Riders. The Marshall and Vera Lee Rinker Welcome Center now proudly welcomes our prospective students and their families through the gates of campus. The Carleton Union Building was renovated and expanded by 40%. The Cub is a wonderful example of how blending our historic architecture with modern design to meet the needs of today's students. We also enhanced our Jewish campus community with the dedication of the newly remodeled Jeffrey and Diane Ginsburg Hillel House. The Sandra Stetson Aquatic Center was made possible by John B. Stetson's granddaughter. It's also home to our Institute for Water and Environmental Resilience, as well as our men's and women's rowing teams. The campaign also raised $18.8 million to support athletics. This includes the new athletic training center and the addition of beach volleyball, lacrosse, and the return of Hatter football. These are tremendous examples of generosity that support Stetson's mission and help our students reach their full potential. We would not be the university we are today without the support of all of you, so thank you. As we look beyond the challenges of 2020, we know affordability and access will be top of mind for many prospective students and their families. So we hope you will continue supporting the Stetson Fund and student scholarships. We also hope some of you will consider establishing your own endowed fund. These types of funds truly leave a legacy at Stetson while also helping the university remain successful and significant for the next 137 years. Thank you again so much for your continued support of your alma mater, and we look forward to seeing you again in person very soon. And now I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Roelke.
Thank you, Tara. Thank you very much. I do have a few remarks I'd like to make, but I'd like to keep them brief because I found in these webinars some of the most fun we have together is when it's interactive and you can ask questions, which Becca Thomas will help field, and I'd like to have a candid and open conversation with you. I will say that my transition to Stetson has gone remarkably well, and I'm exceptionally grateful for all of the warm Southern hospitality I have received. I really became introduced to the Stetson community back in November officially, and certainly at that time we could not have anticipated what the 2020 was going to look like. But the Stetson community I've been describing in many of my public remarks as tenacious, scrappy, resilient, and caring. And let me explain the word scrappy. I don't mean that pejoratively. I mean that very much so in an endearing way. When the going gets tough, Hatters get going, and the going has been tough. And I have been so deeply impressed, excuse me, with the collaboration, with the caring ethic. People have stepped up in myriad of ways that they could not have predicted during this, again, really challenging context, whether it be the pandemic, public health concerns, racial unrest. We certainly got right now going on wildfires out west. Some of our families, Stetson families, are impacted by that. Lots and lots going on in the world. And I have been so, again, deeply impressed with the Stetson community. And one of the great things about being an educator is that you never know what might come next. I love that unpredictability about the work. And what has been predictable for me already, though, has been, again, the steadfast commitment that members of this community have to each other. And that's really what stood out to me, certainly at Stetson. I'd like to talk a little bit about where we are with regard to the pandemic. Many alums and certainly parents that are out there that have current Hatter students may have been participating in our weekly webinars to provide updates. But I've been immersed with the Stetson community really in February when the pandemic really started to wreak its havoc in the United States. So I feel very fortunate that I was involved in many of the intense planning meetings by the senior administration as well as with faculty. And I also had the opportunity to meet some students virtually during the early months before my arrival. I think we made a couple of really key decisions that have turned out thus far to be really important decisions. First and foremost, we decided to engage in 3 themes as we try to address the issues of the pandemic: kindness, empathy, and agency. It's my strong and firm belief that when the going again gets tough, kindness goes an awful long way in terms of alleviating anxiety, in terms of being able to listen to others' viewpoints and ideas. And similarly, we need to express empathy at all times. This pandemic has certainly wreaked havoc in all sorts of different families and situations, but it's had a disproportionate impact on some members of our community. And there may even be hidden obstacles to either job performance or to student growth that we all need to be empathetic about during this, again, unprecedented context. And the last is agency, the idea that when, again, things are not like we had thought they were going to be, providing individuals some degree of choice so that they can have some control over their life. That means, for instance, faculty being able to make some choices about how best to deliver their curriculum, allowing our students who come from a variety of backgrounds and a variety of family situations, perhaps even having family members that have a compromising condition or an underlying health condition, allowing them to make the choice as to how they might engage with the Stetson education this fall. The reason I think those decisions were very fruitful is because we've had incredible retention. We have had many, many more students want to come to campus than we're able to accommodate, and that's all very, very good news. The other important decision we made, which was costly, but I think, again, the right decision, was we made the decision to go to single occupancy residential halls in the fall. The reason for doing that was right at the time when students are about to return to campus. Florida, in fact, was the epicenter of the pandemic. And we felt it was critical from a health and safety perspective that if we did have students that tested positive, that we would have a strong ability to be able to isolate them, give them care, and allow them to recuperate while still taking their courses remotely. That's proven so far to be very, very successful. If you don't have an opportunity, you may want to check the Safer Stetson website at some point. We've got some really interesting and I think important COVID tracking tools that will tell you the number of active cases we have on campus, the number of students that are in isolation out of an abundance of caution. And you can also see that information for the College of Law as well. The fall semester, it continues to unfold. There is a tent pitched out right outside this house. 3 classes are being conducted underneath the tent on the President's lawn. There are other tents out on campus. We also have about 56% of our students, 56% of our courses that are virtual. The other 44% are either hybrid or face-to-face. And again, we're allowing for mobility within those courses as we try to adjust to the numbers with regard to COVID-19. I think we are now in a good solid month now into our operation, and we are very, very pleased with the outcomes thus far, but we are not getting complacent because as we know with this pandemic, a single spike can wreak havoc in a community. So we are continuing to partner really effectively, I believe, with the Department of Health and also with local health partners, including Advent Health. We have regular testing events on campus. We're about to have flu shot events on campus. Again, all rooted in trying to promote health and safety of our community. I've been very impressed with the creativity and innovation that our faculty have brought to the table as they try to do the very best of a Stetson education under very trying circumstances. They're learning a tremendous amount. We are all learning a tremendous amount. So we're trying again to provide the very best form of Stetson education we can, despite the challenges that are in front of us. Next slide. As we all know, a very important element of a Stetson education, it is a place where, again, we have values are a very, very important part of where we see ourselves in the higher education landscape. And one of our important goals and objectives is to make sure that our community is as inclusive as it possibly can be and that we are abiding by our values. Certainly things outside of Stetson and even within inside Stetson sometimes challenge us on those inclusivity goals. One thing that we have done, I think quite transparently at Stetson, is have campus climate surveys. We just completed the 2nd iteration of the campus climate survey, comprehensive survey. The first iteration being in 2016, and we are about to release the results of the 2nd iteration this week and have many, many robust conversations planned so that we can move Stetson forward in terms of inclusivity and certainly trying to promote racial harmony in a time in which our country is struggling with that concept a great deal. So I think that I'd like to also tell you a little bit about some of the challenges we've had on the budget front. You may have been alerted to some communications we sent to the broader Stetson community right when I began as president. The pandemic did require us to cut our projected budget by a little over $16 million. Great sacrifices were made by our faculty, by our staff, by the senior administration in terms of reduced pay, in terms of a temporary stoppage of retirement contributions, cuts in operational budgets. Part of that was because we had to do a lot of really incredible investment to try to make sure our campus was safe. So we spent nearly $2 million to mitigate the transmission of COVID-19 by retrofitting our classrooms. Again, I mentioned before, by going to single occupancy. And we had to, again, pitch some tents. We had to have sanitizing stations installed. We are not alone in this. All of my colleagues in other institutions around the country also had to make considerable investments to enable an education to move forward for our students that we care about so much. I am delighted to report that because our enrollment was more robust than we had anticipated, both on the undergraduate level and particularly at the College of Law and particularly in our graduate programs, we were able to restore the salary cuts that were made. We were not able to restore the retirement contributions, but we were able to restore the salary cuts that were made, and that was very much appreciated by members of the community who, as you can imagine, have been working tirelessly really since February to prepare for this semester, not only get students through the semester of spring 2020, but to prepare so fervently for the fall 2020, and we continue to plan for spring 21. So really, really grateful that we were able to do that. But let's make no mistake about it. These have been challenging times on the public health front, challenging times on the racial front, and certainly challenging times on the financial front. So we very much need your support as much as possible. And let me thank you also for those that supported our COVID-19 fund, for those that supported our annual fund, and for considering deep engagement with Stetson. We need you. We need you now more than ever. And that herein lies the priorities for 2021. And it may seem overly simplistic, but those three themes I referred to earlier, we very much hope that those three themes are going to carry us through this 2021 academic year. Let's be kind to each other, let's be empathetic, and let's give individuals agency so they can take care of themselves and those around them. While those are simplistic goals, I think they're vitally important. And I see it partly as my job as president to promote those goals. Of course, there is still work to be done. There is lots and lots of planning going on for our reaccreditation process. So there are certain things that we can't postpone despite the pandemic. You saw images of the investments we're making in the health sciences, which is profoundly exciting. Again, the single greatest gift that Stetson has ever received from the Hyatt and C.C. Brown family, just fantastic. We are looking very, very carefully at ways to continue to mitigate the transmission of the virus. Absent a vaccine, we're going to continue to need to be vigilant in our reducing the transmission rate of this disease, which again has wreaked havoc in so many communities and certainly here in Florida as well. Needless to say, this has not been a presidential transition that I could have imagined, but I am profoundly grateful for the opportunity to lead Stetson. I'm excited, I'm optimistic, I'm very bullish about Stetson's future, and that's in part because of the people that are here. Tremendously dedicated group of faculty, staff, and administration, and also a very dedicated alumni body. So please stay tuned with us. Again, as I said earlier, I think the most important part of this conversation is the Q&A. So I think we ought to turn to that at this time, if that's okay with you, Becca.
Yeah, sounds good. And I'm sure our alumni are excited to have the chance to ask some questions and get to know you better and some other ideas you have as you continue in your role. So at this time, you can go ahead and use the question box that you used at the beginning of the session to chat in your class year. If you have any questions, now's the time. Submit them in there and I'll be pulling them out of there to share with Dr. Rolke. But I'll start out with one while we wait for those questions to come in. So how's your family liking the transition? Have they been able to officially transition down, or how's that going?
It's a great question. I'm very proud of my family. I have 3 daughters. Emma is 25 and a second year medical student at NYU. Julia Rolke is 23. She's a science educator and sustainability coordinator and basketball coach in Westport, Connecticut. And my youngest daughter, Olivia, is a rising senior in high school. So therein lies the reason why my wife and my youngest daughter have not yet joined me. She needs to finish her high school experience. We didn't feel it was proper to pull her out in the middle of her high school experience. So in some ways that's been, although that's been difficult to be apart from them, it's also been in some ways a blessing because I've been able to immerse myself so fully in the Stetson community, including our local government folks. I got a chance to meet them in Volusia and certainly hope to get to Gulfport soon once this pandemic subsides. But in some ways I've been able to kind of work 24/7, which again, I know is not the healthiest thing to do, but it has allowed me to immerse myself in this community in a very meaningful way. So thank you for asking about my family. I can't wait for you to meet them. My wife will be coming down for Board of Trustees meetings coming up soon, but I miss them, but I know they're doing well.
Great, let's see what else we have coming in. Okay. So we did have one here just talking about the campus community. So, with the social distancing and the safe practices going on campus, are people really wearing their masks everywhere? And what kind of effect is that having for folks and students who are on campus and continually creating kind of that Hatter environment that you're used to as you're going about your day-to-day and that? Can you share a little on that?
First, I'll say this, is that one of the other things that was impressive to me about my arrival was what I found to be a really organic and meaningful relationship between the city of DeLand and Stetson University. So viewers might be interested to know that DeLand was the first municipality in Volusia County to mandate masks during the height of the pandemic. And Stetson had something to do with that in terms of trying to promote public health and safety. There has been extraordinary compliance with our expectations. I will confess that the first week on campus was a little tricky. We had a big spike. We did have some social gatherings that were outside of our expectations, and we did have a spike. And so in some ways, that was a big wake-up call, I think, to the Stetson University community, that not only is this pandemic real, but that this virus is in fact highly, highly contagious. So thankfully, because we had single occupancy and because we had tracing protocols and the like, we were able to mitigate further transmission. And again, if you visit the COVID-19 tracking data on our website, you'll see it's a pretty impressive track record thus far on terms of keeping this pandemic under control, at least for the Stetson community. Volusia also has been more fortunate than other parts of the state in Florida by having lower transmission rates than a good portion of the rest of the state. So that's been very fortunate that we've had that. The other side of the state has had a bit more higher, and certainly south of us has had a higher positivity rate. We also are blessed with robust hospital bed availability. I, as president, probably my single greatest concern as wanting to reopen and re-energize the campus was, could we give students access to care should they need it? I could not, in good conscience as president, promote more people coming back to campus in the midst of a pandemic if I couldn't be assured that we were going to have adequate access to care. So very grateful to our partners in Advent Health who reassured us that they could take care of us as needed. We have had one student who is COVID-19 positive who did have to go to the hospital, but thankfully that person came back right away after a visit to the emergency room. So we're continuing to keep our fingers crossed and monitor this very, very carefully, again, to promote health and safety. But I have been very impressed with the compliance. I will say there's kind of starting to see some impatience emerge. This is very hard for all of us, and I think it's particularly hard for 18 to 22-year-olds, et cetera, although we have a wide range of ages of students at Stetson, to not be socializing with one another in the ways that they're typically used to. So I thank them so profoundly for their patience and for their understanding. We're currently in Tier 1. If we continue to have the good progress we've had and low transmission rates, we hope that sometime we'll be able to move into Tier 2, which provides for more social interaction. So I hope that's an honest answer, is that it's going very, very well, but it has not been easy.
Okay, well, thank you for that. So going off of that, we had another one come in that somewhat relates, so I'm going to toss that one out to you now. So what are some new innovative ideas that have came about during the pandemic that the university hopes to carry into our new, better normal? I think that's a great question.
That is a great question, and I think we're still learning what those innovations are that might stick. I will say, I'll speak personally first, and then I'll talk more broadly about what I've observed. First, I mean, these virtual meetings, some of them have some merit. I think people can get Zoomed out and Microsoft Office Teams out. You can get fatigued by this, and I think doing it in spurts, I've learned, is better than a 2-hour or 3-hour meeting. But I think the ability to have these meetings in the comfort of your own home that are still productive, that are enable you to reach a large audience, have been really, frankly, quite impressive. And I think we've learned a lot about efficiencies that can be garnered in terms of meetings and the like. So that's on the personal side. More broadly, I think you're seeing faculty do really interesting things, like obviously during a time of COVID, if you were face-to-face in a classroom, it would be very difficult to do the kind of collaborative learning that you might want to do in breaking up, let's say, a larger lecture of 50 students into smaller groups of 4 and 5. That kind of movement within a classroom probably doesn't work so well in a COVID-19 environment. However, it does work virtually, right? So our faculty are telling us that this is actually quite fascinating. I can have breakout rooms that I can do safely in this context that I can't do in person. I think faculty are also learning how to experiment more robustly with video presentations and then having the robust conversation. There's an interesting benefit to some of the virtual pieces, which is oftentimes the class is archived. So if you have a student that is absent from a class for an illness or what have you, they can often revisit the content at a later date. We've certainly found that to be the case with the webinars that we've done. So not everybody's available at Thursday at 4 o'clock, but we can archive the webinar, and if people are interested and want to get engaged in it, they can do so. I still think the jury is out on the whole virtual experiment that we're undertaking by necessity. I think, again, our faculty are learning every day, our administration is learning every day, and our staff is learning every day. The campus has never been cleaner than it has been this semester, because our cleaning protocols are so robust. So there's some odd benefits associated with this crazy time we're living in.
Great, yeah, and I know we've seen that too with our alumni. They've really enjoyed some of the networking opportunities and breakout rooms we've been able to provide. So I think that is a great portion that's came out for our office as well. So let's see, we have a few more coming in from some alumni. So with so many of Stetson's academic programs aligning with robust public policy, such as maybe our environmental area with our Institute of Water and Environmental Resilience, mouthful. How can our DC area alumni who are maybe involved in some of that government area maybe help our students or other initiatives around that?
Well, thank you very much for that generous question. One of the things that really appealed to me about Stetson as a presidential candidate was Stetson's long and I think very favorable track record in terms of bridging any perceived or real gaps between theory and practice. So our students, particularly our undergraduate students who aren't quite sure about their career plans, giving them ample opportunity to apply what it is they're learning in the classroom in real world settings is such a valuable and potent learning experience. In this time of COVID, we've seen some alums step up and volunteer to do virtual mentorship of our undergraduate students, virtual internships. So if you need assistance in your particular industry and need an energetic, smart, and ambitious young person to assist, please contact our alumni office. I'm sure they'd be happy to connect you with some very willing and able students to assist. A very generous question. In fact, just today I was working with the Arthur Vining Davis Foundations, who helped support our initial launch of the water resilience program over at the Sandra Stetson Aquatic Center. I was also just today on the phone with the Volusia Department of Health, along with Asal Johnson, who's a faculty member who studies public health. And we were talking about ways in which we can collaborate on tracing protocols, on sharing our data. That is just profoundly exciting when you see local government agencies working with our students, working with our faculty, and collaborating with Safer Stetson to try to keep not just our Stetson community safe, but the broader Volusia community safe. That's very, very energizing to me as an educator. And so I thank those alums out there that are willing to engage, not only in helping us philanthropically, but helping us mentor our students and give them opportunities so that they can make the most out of a Stetson education.
And I will echo that. Just email our office if you are interested in getting involved to help our students. We'd love that. So do not hesitate, and we'll try and fit you in. We appreciate that so much, as do the students. We do have one from an alumna. She's interested in hearing, is our ROTC program still active, and how many were commissioned last year?
I'm not going to be able to answer the second part of the question because I don't know. Perhaps there's somebody in the background that knows the answer to that. But I do know our ROTC program is in fact robust. One of the spikes we had early on was actually within our ROTC program. Not surprising, right? Because of the nature of the work that they're doing together. It's a robust program. I'm also not ashamed to let you know that my own nephew, who is in the armed services, is an applicant. We're hoping that he may end up being here at Stetson because it is a tremendous track record in terms of providing a robust education for our veterans who serve our country so nobly. So yes, it still is alive and well. I regret I do not know the exact numbers of where we are on that.
And Dr. Rolke, we actually did have come in from some of our folks. Thank you, Julie, on the back end. We had 7 commissioned ROTC officers in May 2020. So there you go.
Thank you, Julie.
Yeah. Okay. We have another one here that's came in. Let's see. So you mentioned your wife is practicing veterinary medicine. So we have an alumna curious if she'll be practicing in the DeLand-Volusia County area. And you talked about your the ladies of your family, that you're outnumbered. Do you have any pets?
This is wonderful. And again, thank you everyone for your generous questions. Really, really kind. And anytime you want to talk about my family, we can spend more than an hour together because it's just one of my favorite topics. Kim is a small animal surgeon at a practice called the Center for Veterinary Care in Millbrook. When I accepted the presidency, she did sell her partnership share in the Millbrook Center for Veterinary Care. And she is still working, however, as part of her exit package, if you will. And she hasn't decided whether or not she wants to reopen another practice, whether she wants to consult. My youngest daughter, Olivia, is a very competitive equestrian. This gets to the pet question. She's a very avid equestrian, and my wife shares that passion with her. And the fact that we're not far from Ocala is very appealing. We're a great deal, and also Wellington, Florida is not too far away either. So they can continue to compete in something that they're very, very passionate about. What was the other part of the question?
If you all own any pets.
Oh, that's right. Yes, we have many, many pets. We have currently, I say currently because the number of animals in the house does change with some rapidity. We have a fish, we have a hamster, we have 2 dogs. One is a severely visually impaired golden retriever that we adopted and rescued. The other is a mixed breed. We think he got a little greyhound in him, who's a rescue from the Puerto Rico hurricane. His name is Duke, and the golden retriever is Marco. And we have 2 cats that are outdoor cats because I am allergic, and they are Mac and Millie. Those are the 2 cats, and they're wonderful. And there is always a push for more and more creatures in the Rolke household. We do have 2 horses as well. They don't live on our property, but we have 2 horses that my wife and my youngest daughter ride competitively in hunter jumper competitions and also hunter paces. So I think that's all the animals.
Gosh, okay, so outnumbered by the women in your family and the pets. We learned tonight. Okay. Folks, keep sharing your questions. We're more than happy to keep asking here. We have until 7, so we'd love to get any of the questions you have. Feel free to submit those. So I've got one. What's one thing you're learning right now, and why is it important? What's one thing maybe you're learning and you feel like this is a very important maybe lesson or something, not just personally, but maybe it's for the full community or...
Thank you, Becca, for the question. It's very difficult for me to select one thing because the learning opportunities that this context has provided are absolutely abundant. I've been indicating to the community that I can think of no better place to be, frankly, than in higher education because there is such an abundance of learning opportunities that have presented themselves. If I had to select a single one, it would be the learning or being reaffirming the importance of humility during this time. I think we do not know the answers to a lot of these questions. We must draw from each other our various levels of expertise and passions to help solve these pressing problems. So while the learning is abundant, I think I would select that piece is about the importance of humility, reaffirming that important learning about the importance of humility would be the single one that would come to my mind first and foremost.
Great, thanks you for sharing. Okay, let's see, we've got one here that's came through. So coming from Vassar, what similarities do you see with Stetson academic programs?
Great. Thank you. And for those that were not familiar, I did spend the last 21 years of my career at Vassar College in Poughkeepsie, New York. 10 of those years as a member of the faculty, well, all 21 years as a member of the faculty, but the last little over a decade as the dean of the college at Vassar. And as I reflect on that experience, there are, in fact, many, many great similarities. Part of that is really ambitious and energetic and hungry students. That's certainly a similarity that I have found. Another similarity, I would say, would be the kinds of challenges that smaller private colleges and universities confront. That is, we have an increasingly diverse student body. We have an increasing demand for financial aid, for additional resources for those for whom perhaps it's the first member of their family to go to college. So we are what I would classify, and Vassar is in this category, is what we call a high tuition, high discount school. So our price tag is pretty high, but we also give a tremendous amount of money to financial aid, right? So you'll hear people in the higher education landscape talk about net tuition revenue. And that's really important as we try to recruit and retain the very best faculty, to try to address issues of deferred maintenance on our campus. Vassar was 1863, Stetson is 1883. So similar vintage opening of the campuses. I would also like to say that a similarity that I see, but it took much more work to make this happen at Vassar than I think it has happened here at Stetson, is the town gown piece. We work diligently at Vassar to improve what we call town gown relations, literally breaking down fences, promoting experiential learning, having partnerships with the local community. And so although I think that's very much happening here at Stetson, I think Stetson has actually a stronger track record in that than Vassar had. We had to build that where it seems a bit more organic here at Stetson. And frankly, that was one of the things that really appealed to me because I care so deeply about Stetson's position within the broader DeLand and Volusia state of Florida community. They provide ample learning opportunities for our students. So much learning happens outside the classroom that we need those community partners in order to get the most robust undergraduate and graduate education that we can. So I hope that's a satisfactory answer. There's certainly some differences. Vassar is a heck of a lot more wealthy than Stetson University is. Vassar's endowment now stands at $1.1 billion, whereas our endowment, although performing very, very well, is just a little bit over $315 million. And again, the market is volatile, so we don't know what that will look like next month. But on an endowment per pupil basis, you can see that the relative wealth is really a major, major difference between Vassar and Stetson, because Vassar has only 2,400 students, all undergraduate, whereas Stetson has over 4,000 students and has, again, a 300 and change endowment. So relative wealth is a significant difference between Vassar and Stetson. But we can do something about that.
All right, changing topics a little bit. We had, it seems like folks have heard that you've been busy and, you know, getting engaged with the community and getting things done, but they also would like to know, what do you like to do for fun?
That's really nice. I mean, what I would typically like to do in a non-COVID environment is be on an intramural basketball team, an intramural softball team, and engage with students athletically. I am a former collegiate athlete. My daughter's all athletes, and I believe so strongly in the value of athletics from an educational perspective that you learn an awful lot about yourself, win or lose, healthy or not healthy, injured or uninjured. You learn a lot about yourself, and you'll learn a lot about your teammates. And so if it were a non-COVID environment, I think you would see me out and about, you know, throwing a Frisbee around, shooting some hoops, playing softball, maybe taking a run. I can do the run still, but This may come as a surprise to the audience members, but what I've been doing for fun in this COVID environment, I am here in this very large home by myself at the moment. I have been decorating the president's house, and I have really had a blast doing it. For those that are interested, I'm doing kind of a modern industrial kind of look in a house that was vintage 1910. So it's a little risky, perhaps, for some of the traditional components of the home, but the dining room still remains very, very traditional. But we did want to make the home feel like us. And so sending lots and lots of images to my wife when I have a free moment about some selections that we're making. And so that's been an awful lot of fun and using a part of my brain that heretofore has been unnourished.
Great. Well, it sounds like you're staying busy and you're having fun too. So if you don't mind, Dr. Roelke, we have a couple more questions. Are you all right hanging a couple minutes late here with our alumni?
Of course.
Okay, so we've got two last questions that have came in. So how are you doing the single occupancy dorms? They're asking a little more around that, and because it seems they were pretty crowded last time this particular alum visited, but they're very happy we're able to do this. So are you able to just maybe expand how we were able to adapt there?
Yeah, I'll just reiterate something which we were surprised when we made the decision again to give students agency. Do you want to come or not? You can do your classes either virtually or in person. And then we made the decision to go single occupancy. We had too few spaces for the number of students that wanted to come back to campus, even when at that time, Florida again was the epicenter of the pandemic. To me, that spoke volumes about the value of the residential education that Stetson affords its students. So how did we manage that? Well, we negotiated hard with local area hotels to provide single occupancy to our students. So I think when we first started, we had over 300 hotel rooms that were being occupied. We're down to about 145, 146. Part of those are being reserved for isolation of students if we needed to isolate students. So again, it's been quite a matrix to have to manage. And Larry Correll Hughes, who is our mastermind behind trying to provide spaces to our residential students, has really worked magic. It has not been perfect. Very few things have been perfect during this pandemic, but what has not at all wavered has been the effort and the commitment to try to make it work for each and every individual student. We succeed a lot of the time. We don't always succeed on that, but please know it's not from a lack of effort. Really tremendous effort and thoughtfulness has gone into this. We had some snafus when we had that first spike where we didn't get food to students on a quick enough basis. So we learned from that and got better at that. We continue to get better every day in our testing protocols and our communications. I've been telling all of my colleagues and our students, and I really believe this is true, that we are making history here at Stetson this year. I've read lots and lots of histories about Stetson, including books by Pope Duncan and others about chronicling the history of Stetson. People will be writing about this experience in 2021 and perhaps even further, depending on how this plays out. How did Stetson manage that thing? How did they manage that? Being face-to-face for part of the students, hotel rooms, single occupancy, having meals delivered, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So again, while I have you on the screen, I thank you for your patience and understanding throughout this learning period. We haven't gotten it perfect, but it hasn't been from a lack of trying.
All right, great. So we have one more question we'll wrap it up with, and then you can give us your final remarks for the evening. Let's see, an alum has provided, so not only are we providing a liberal arts education here during a pandemic, but there's also the major social justice work going on around the country. So how are you working with the faculty to weave that into the Stetson experience?
Yep. Great question. And again, I think the campus climate survey results are going to be a springboard for lots and lots of robust and important discussions. I think those discussions should be structured discussions so that they can move us forward. Sometimes when you just have a free-for-all, it can move us backwards. So we're working on structures for those conversations. Again, unfortunately, a lot of them will have to be virtual to begin with. There are a number of faculty that have developed a really nice set of panel discussions on race in the United States. I think this week's one is on jazz, or maybe it was last week's. Anyway, really interdisciplinary perspectives on the racial climate in the United States, the racial history in the United States. I do think it's incumbent upon Stetson to examine its own history as it relates to race relations. So again, a profound learning opportunity has presented itself, and what will Stetson do to make the most of it? And it does require collaboration with students, with faculty, and with staff. I will say this, that I've had the delight of working very closely over the first few months with the Multicultural Student Council at Stetson, who has been very, very thoughtful and certainly passionate about a lot of the issues in our community. And I see this future generation of students as central to creating and crafting solutions moving forward. So I do hope, I know I have to earn that credibility on the diversity and inclusion front, but I am eager to certainly do that here at Stetson. I know we're running out of time, but during my time as dean at Vassar, we underwent our most dramatic demographic shift in the institution's history, other than when we went coeducational in 1969. So I'm very familiar with the kinds of difficult conversations that need to happen. And that's why I mentioned how important it is that those conversations have some structure, because if they don't have structure, it can set us back a bit. I think that's it, Becca?
Yes, that's it for this evening. Thank you so much for going a couple extra minutes with us. But if you do have any last message or words to share with our alumni, I'm sure we'd all be appreciative for that.
I will. I thank you for your engagement. I've enjoyed this very much. I very much look forward to the time when we can meet again in person. And I do want to just leave you with some simple words, which is that I hope that you stay safe, that you stay well, and for lots and lots of reasons, I hope you also stay engaged with Stetson. We care about you, we need you, and thank you. Good night.